as Angela said, we are clients of Keokee. Robin actually built our website. I think we think they're a great company. So that's why I'm introducing you all. And I think you should definitely think about looking into them if you're looking into hiring a marketing company. It's been a really great process for us. So I think this is the second in a 5-part series that Keokee's putting together. So I'm just going to follow the writing right here. The material was created specifically for residential remodelers and builders. Keokee is a boutique media and marketing company specializing in marketing strategies, branding, websites, and digital marketing for remodelers and residential builders. They are also members of Pro and an accredited CEU trainer. They offer their CEU training as an outreach and to give back to the industry they serve. Today's presenter is Robin Levy, and welcome, Robin.
Hi, guys. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you so much for your patience and for bearing with us through all of those technical difficulties. I am not sure what was going on, but we will move right ahead here. I'd like to thank both Angela and also Sam for the nice introductions and the opportunity to present to all of you guys. I'd like to welcome you to the second class in our contractor education series, Branding and Website Integrity Matters. And just a few really quick introductions before we get started. So I am part of Keokee Contractor Marketing. We are a design and marketing agency based in Sandpoint, Idaho. We specialize in helping home builders and remodelers with their branding, website design, and digital lead generation. And as you heard in the introduction earlier, I am Robin Levy, and I'm the lead designer for Keokee Contractor Marketing. I take care of all the website design needs for our contractor clients, including branding, web design, and print design. Before we get started, I'll just go over a couple of quick housekeeping details. So first, please do double check and make sure that your microphone is muted. We do appreciate that. Also, this will be a 45-minute webinar with 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. And please do feel free to chat and ask questions throughout using the Zoom control panel, or you can save your questions for the end for the Q&A. One last thing, at the end of the webinar, we will have a short survey for you to fill out, and we would love to hear your feedback. So we'll put the link for that in the chat when we get to that point in the presentation. So with all of that out of the way, let's dive right in. So I am here today to talk to you about branding, what it is, why it matters, and how to approach your own branding with integrity. But first, I want to talk to you about burgers. So let's consider the humble Whopper. Now, this may look like the burger you see in ads or on TV billboards, and it might look good enough to entice you to come over to your nearest Burger King and get one for yourself. But when you do, you may find that your Whopper experience does not quite measure up to what you saw in that billboard. So you're hungry. So you might have expected the bait and switch also. So you go ahead and just eat it and move on with your life, right? But we are talking about burgers here. And if you extend this idea to a product or service that is more impactful and, maybe a bigger investment like home remodeling, for instance, you can start to see how these expectations that businesses set with their marketing become a bit more significant, right? So when we talk about brand integrity, we are talking about how to deliver on the expectations set by your branding and how those promises that you make to your clients and potential clients, so we are talking about how you deliver on the expectations set by your branding and your marketing, and then how you deliver on those expectations. So don't get me wrong. There are certainly plenty of remodelers and builders out there who deliver a brand experience that is the construction equivalent of this sad squished burger. And the internet is full of nightmares stories to back that up. But what we've found is that with most of the contractors we work with, it's usually the opposite situation that occurs. So they tend to deliver a brand experience that looks more like our billboard burger. And they've got the expertise, the reputation, the happy clients. But the problem is that their brand promise looks a little more like this burger. So this is the situation we see most often with the contractors that we work with. Their branding and marketing actually undervalue the services that they are delivering. So not only that, but the branding creates a negative expectation that then has to be overcome with the brand experience. So it's kind of this negative feedback cycle, if you will. So what is the solution? How do we build a better burger and create a brand promise that matches the level of brand experience that people have when they work with you? So to answer that, we want to take a step back to remember that the point of branding is to connect a brand with their ideal client. And what you're really trying to do is make an emotional connection with that ideal client. So how do we do that? Well, we start by asking questions. And these can be questions like, what problems do we solve? Who do we solve it for and why? What do we stand for? And what sets us apart and makes us different? So once you've answered these questions, you can start thinking about your brand values and how those can be expressed through your important brand touch points, like your logo and your website and every other way that your clients come in contact with your brand. So with that goal in mind, I'd like to introduce you to a tool that we use with our clients when we are honing in on those brand values that are going to be not only authentic with the business, but also resonate with the desired audience. And that's a concept known as brand personality. So this simply refers to human characteristics associated with the brand, and they are typically expressed as adjectives. And it conveys how you want people to perceive your business. So it's a straightforward enough concept, but there's a certain structure that we use when we work with people. So I will show that to you. We can go over it. Okay, so this is known as the brand personality framework. And you can see 5 personality dimensions here in these this top item listed here. So we have sincerity, excitement, competence, sophistication, and ruggedness. So this simple framework has become the most widely used model for helping brands align their values, their culture, and their brand promise with a highly relatable personality type. So the way you apply it is to think of adjectives that best describe your brand. So what is true for you and how do you want to be perceived? This could be, they could be the adjectives listed here, or could be other ones that you might come up with. But the idea is that the personality traits that you choose to represent your brand will fall under one of these 5 dimensions. For example, imaginative here falls under the excitement dimension. Charming falls under sophistication, and so on. So when we go through this exercise with our clients, they usually say, well, I can't decide. My business and my brand is a little bit of, more than one of these things, certainly. So what you want to do is keep in mind that you can't be all things to all people. And a marketing message that tries to kind of go in too many different directions is going to get watered down and end up being less effective overall. So what you want to try to do is identify a primary personality dimension. So that'll be the main one that you want to project. And then you can augment that with a secondary dimension. So try to limit it to just 2, a primary and a secondary. Curious if anyone in the audience here is seeing a strong alignment with any one of these, 1 or 2 of the brand personality dimensions. If you'd like to go ahead and put that in the chat, go ahead and feel free. Give me just a moment.
So far, I'm the only one who has put in, and to me, when I'm thinking of pro, I relate to competence: reliable, intelligent, successful, hardworking.
Great.
And that's really more describing our members.
Okay. Well, why is this important? Why even bother going through this exercise? So the idea here is that by giving your brand a personality, you make the brand more relatable. People purchase from brands that they like and relate to. So they identify with traits that they see in their logo with traits that they see in themselves or things that they resonate with. Brand personality also helps your marketing connect on an emotional level with potential clients, which is important because emotion drives decision-making. Another thing that brand personality helps you do is to differentiate your business from the competition. You are giving people a reason to choose you other than price. So let's just kind of look at a few examples here of some well-known brands that you've probably heard of all of them. So you can kind of get an idea of how these personality dimensions kind of are expressed through something like a logo. So if you look at, for example, the excitement dimension, you can see there's a lot of reds, kind of this energetic sort of feel, sort of the dynamic shape of the Nike swoosh. Sincerity, you see a lot of sort of script or cursive writing for that kind of personal touch. So that makes sense for the mega brands, right? But how do we apply that to something like a contractor? Let's go ahead and look at some examples. We're going to go through a few logo redesigns that we've done for some of our contractor clients. And I want you to pay attention to the brand attributes of the before logo and then the attributes of the redesigned logo. So the first one here is a business called Springs Home Improvement, and they are based in Colorado Springs, Colorado. They came to us with this logo, which feels like a home repair, kind of a maintenance feeling, handyman, very utilitarian. They wanted to project more of a sense of stability, of creativity, experience, and that they are problem solvers. So thereafter looks like this. So if we kind of compare the two, we can kind of see the transformation in the different sort of attributes and the brand personality that is being conveyed. If we look at another example here, this is a business called Ardan Construction in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. And their before logo is very generic. It's pretty uninspiring. It's unprofessional and fairly weak, just a little hard to read and not very clear as what it's really trying to do. So their desired positioning was to be projecting competence, reliability, dependability, and professionalism. So their after logo does a really good job of feeling or of expressing those attributes in its design and conveying those ideas. So again, if we look at our before and after, pretty big difference. And we'll just look at just one more here. So France Construction is a remodeler based in the Central Coast of California, so San Luis Obispo area. And their before logo wasn't terrible by any means. It had an industrial kind of feel to it, masculine, kind of has like a durability, so like it's made of metal or something, and feels very strong, but wasn't necessarily what they were wanting to convey. So they wanted to project that they are capable, but also creative, exciting, and successful. So their after logo tries to capture some of those attributes and looks like this. So if you do a before and after there, you can see the transformation on that one. So what is the takeaway here other than that before and afters are always fun? Well, it's just that by defining your values, your brand becomes more valuable. So you want to remember that your brand has power. It sends a message about your company's values and its purpose. And that message can attract, it can repel, or it can kind of be neutral. It can not really sway someone one way or the other. But it's something that is worth taking the time to get right and be intentional with. So a couple of guiding principles that I want you to keep in mind. First, take a client-centered approach with your branding and your marketing. It's ultimately not about your preferences. Your purpose is to connect with that desired audience. So you want to keep that in mind when you're defining your values. And then secondly, you do want to be intentional. Whatever your logo is, it's going to send a message. So let's, make that an intentional choice. Decide who your ideal customer is, and then project the values that are going to be authentic to you and your company, and that you believe will also resonate with your audience. So I want you to think about your own logo and what traits or adjectives come to mind when you look at it. Ask yourself if your logo sends the right message for the kind of client that you are hoping to attract. So you want to ask yourself, is your logo making that connection with your ideal client? Okay, so now you've identified your brand personality that you want to project. You've compared that with where you are now. And there's another piece of the puzzle that I want to look at, and that is the competition. So all brands are after one thing, right? And that's that you want people to choose you over their other options out there. So you want them to choose you over the other remodelers and builders in your area. So a competitive analysis can help you understand your competitors' weaknesses and where the opportunities are in your own market. A thorough competitor analysis is going to look at various aspects of the competitors' businesses, including their branding, their marketing strategy, sales processes, customer service, reputation, a wide range of things. And with our clients during a discovery analysis phase, we do go more in depth on the competitive landscape, looking at website performance, search engine, rankings, service offerings, all of that sort of thing. But since we are talking about branding and logos here, we're going to kind of hone in on that piece. So for example, let's say that you're a remodeler looking to do higher end work and trying to decide whether or not it makes sense for you to rebrand. So here is your current logo. You do some research in your market area and see what your competitors are up to, and you find a range of logos that look like this. So you'll notice that some of them are offering design build services, which is important to note. So that may have a resonance in the market. But you'll also notice that in terms of design, there's not a lot of standouts. You see a lot of kind of that typical roofline, house references, a lot of saturated colors. Do you kind of see how in this range of competitors, you might gain a competitive advantage by branding yourself in an elevated way to kind of stand out from the crowd? So you can kind of see the after here. And this was, again, a real client that we worked with in Texas. So this was their logo after. The one I showed you before was not their logo before. Similar to that. But anyways, okay, so now you've got a logo that is aligned with your brand values and your target audience, and it stands out from the competition. But there's another aspect of brand integrity that I want to mention, and that is consistency. So this includes your logo. It also includes your website, includes your trucks, your yard signs, your hats, T-shirts, business cards, all the stuff on social media, all that collateral that you would use to represent your business, advertising, sales flyers, you name it, all of that stuff. So it's a lot of stuff, but having that consistent brand image goes a long way toward reinforcing your values and creating a consistent experience with your clients, which fosters a sense of trust and familiarity. So it's all definitely a worthwhile pursuit, even though it's something that you might build slowly over time. Like this business, for example, Premier Construction in the Palm Springs area, they built up this collateral over the course of a couple of years. So it was a gradual process. So the first step, though, is taking a good look at your logo and making sure that it's aligned with your brand values, or at the very least, not undermining them. So you want to start with the logo and then keep in mind that your other collateral. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. No. Does someone need to be muted?
Yes,
is anyone else hearing that?
Yeah, it's Lee. He showed up and I'm trying to mute him.
Okay. All right. I will keep going. Okay. So like I was saying, start with your logo and then your other collateral will flow from that. So what would you guess is the next priority of your marketing collateral? So hint, it's in the title of this webinar. But if you thought website, then that is correct. I think that we all kind of inherently understand the importance of a website in this day and age, but let's go ahead and put some numbers to it. So first impressions are 94% design related. 75% of consumers admit to making judgments on a company's credibility based on the company's website design. And 38% of people will stop engaging with a website if the design is not appealing. And time is not necessarily on your side. You have about 5 seconds when someone first lands on your site to grab their attention and get them to stay. In those first 5 seconds, your visitor to your website is asking, can I trust this website? Does it look professional? Is it relevant for me? And does it solve my problems? So you want to try to answer that and address that right off the bat. Another way to kind of look at this is that design does, in fact, matter. You're looking at part of the homepage for that Springs Home Improvement, which was, we looked at their logo. It's a few slides back. So this is the before and after of their website redesign. So which of these two, just on a glance, looks more credible and trustworthy? Which of these sites would you be more likely to get in touch with about doing a major home remodel? And what if your services aren't about the big remodeling jobs? Does design still matter? And the answer is yes. So right here we have a contractor who does, they do the remodeling, but then they also have another branch of their business that focuses on home repair and maintenance services and taking care of people's property while they're away. So they've got a really nice kind of front-facing website for that. And then we have another contractor who does basement remodels, and this is a landing page for that type of service. So it's worth being clear about what you do and making that good first impression. All right, so let me go back to Springs Home Improvement here real quickly. And if we look at the before here on the left, can you quickly and easily tell that they offer home remodeling services? Aside from the yellow, which really stands out, I see an image of a bathroom with the toilet kind of front and center, and it, kind of makes me think like, oh, I wonder if they are a plumber. And that might work if you are actually looking for a plumber, and that's also what you do. But if you're a remodeler, you're going to want to make that clear right off the bat, like our redesign here on the right. Okay, so now your site is making a good first impression in those critical first 5 seconds. It's clear about what you do. Now, how do you persuade them to contact you once you've made it past that first 5 seconds, when someone's kind of deciding now whether or not they want to stay on your site? So if you dig through the analytics of a website, you know, when we look at a lot of analytics, so we're talking page views, traffic, and this is across a wide range of contractor and other types of websites. But you'll find that there are a handful of pages that consistently get the most attention from visitors. And we'll call these your high value pages. So this includes your homepage, your portfolio, your about page. So I'd like to go through each one of these briefly and just give you some ideas for best practices that you can implement on these critical pages. So let's start with your homepage. And this is something that we did cover a little bit in the last session, if any of you were on that one. But I will review it here because it's worth repeating. So the content and design of your homepage.
Yeah, it says recording progress.
Oh, okay. You got it?
Yeah.
Should follow the TSEC model,
Oh,
which stands for trust, connect, excite, clarify, and call to action. So what that means in the content on the homepage is that the content on the homepage should cover each of these things. So you'd have your elements here up at the top that establish trust, your branding, testimonials, and then some of the content that is meant to connect with your visitors, about your business, your value proposition, that sort of thing. And then you want content that's going to get your visitors excited. So project photos are the obvious choice there. Maybe if you had a video testimonial or something, that could do it too. And then you also want content that clarifies your process, your services, that sort of thing. And then, of course, your call to action. Okay, the next most visited section of your website is going to be, not surprisingly, your portfolio. So the first thing I do want to touch on is the difference between a gallery style portfolio and a project-based portfolio. So a gallery style portfolio is going to be a collection of photos on a single page, whereas a portfolio style or project-based portfolio is going to feature individual projects. So I'd like to give you just a couple of examples of that. So for our gallery photos, gallery portfolio, here are a couple of examples where you click in the navigation to view someone's work, and it displays a collection of photos from different projects, maybe filterable by project type, service offering, something like that. So the other approach is the project-based portfolio. And here's an example of that one. So first you have your main portfolio page over here on the left. So this would be what someone would land on when they first click on your navigation. So I know this is just static and not interactive, but the idea would be that you hover over one of these projects and then you can click on it. And then when you do, you end up on a portfolio page like this, where you're featuring that individual project and you can customize it with different information that you think would be interesting and relevant to your audience. So this particular website has a gallery and then a little project overview. And then I know you can't quite make it out here, but she decided, this remodeler wanted to list out the different kind of materials that were used in these projects. So, and there's a little more to the page, but just what you can see here is some of those key elements that you might want to consider including in this type of portfolio setup. So if we continue on to just look at what we might want to include in an individual project page, the must-haves are definitely going to be your project title and certainly a photo gallery, a collection of photos for that project. The things that you might want to consider are going to be a larger featured image, A project description is always nice to kind of give a little more of that backstory on the project. You can include the project category, a project location can be helpful. And then some kind of more creative elements that we've had people include that you can consider in your own portfolio could be, like in the example, a list of materials. 3D renderings has been something that we've had people use before. Before and after images can be powerful. Video testimonials are another type of content that could be on this type of page, but it's really customizable, and it's a spot where you can really kind of sell your work and your projects, and also let the visitors to the site know that you're the kind of contractor who takes the time to put this sort of thing together and really bring the customer, or the potential customer into that possibility. So let's just go ahead and look at a couple more examples of project portfolio pages, just showing some of those elements at work there. So here we've got one with the featured image and a couple of testimonials, nice project description, some project statistics right here, and a photo gallery. Over here, we've got one again with the featured image, project overview, written testimonial, and again, a gallery. So the thing with project-based portfolios is that we do recommend them. They do tend to kind of pack a bigger punch with people when they visit a site, but there are some pros and cons. So so on the project-based portfolios, it is going to be a better, more in-depth way to showcase your work. So it's going to have a higher perceived value for your visitors, which will help kind of boost your credibility. Like, they understand that it takes time to put something like that together. So it's something that just inherently is going to give you a little more credibility with people who visit your site. And you're also able to kind of build a more complete narrative around your projects. So you're going to get better engagement, which will in turn create or generate more leads. So why then, on the con side, would you maybe not want to use a project-based portfolio? Well, from the contractors that we've worked with, it usually comes down to just a matter of not having that archive of project photos ready to go in the first place. They just don't yet have the content to support it. And then there's a bigger investment when it comes to this kind of content. So that could be another downside, is that it does take more work and it's a little harder to maintain. Okay, so let's just talk about one more high value page on your website, and that's going to be your About page. So this type of content is super important for service-based businesses like home remodeling and construction companies. When you're, establishing trust is super, super critical. And making that kind of personal connection could be the difference between getting the job or not getting it. So your About page should contain information like your USP. So that's a very simple, direct statement that clearly communicates what your business does, who it serves, why it's different from your competitors, and how that difference directly benefits your clients. You'll also want to use your About page to tell the story of your company and the philosophy behind it. Someone who's considering a big project like a remodel is about to make a really big financial investment, and they kind of want to get to know you just a little bit and understand maybe how your business started, what's kept it going, and just who the people are who are behind it. So definitely want to include photos of yourself, the owner, and also any key team members. The last little bit that's important on this type of page is to share your company's philosophy. So what does it stand for? What are your company's values? And let's just look at a couple of examples so that you can see how these pieces come together. So the one on the left is a remodeler out of California. The one on the right is a custom builder and remodeler in Texas. Both of these examples you can see make really good use of photos of team members, of the owners, kind of really giving that personal touch and doing a good job of putting a kind of a human face on the business. Each page also includes a written narrative from the owner's perspective, giving some backstory on their business, basically telling their why, right? Which is super important for making that emotional connection. All right. So this is really what you want to kind of take away from this, is that at every kind of customer touch point, from your logo to your website, to your sales process, and your post-project follow-up, all of those are opportunities to connect with your audience and create the kind of experience that reflects your values as a business and can leave a lasting impression with your customers. So by starting with your values and expressing them through your brand personality across your touch points, you'll then be better positioned to attract the clients that you really want. And I'd like to conclude with an offer for everyone in attendance today. If you'd like to request a brand analysis, we will put that link in the chat for you. So that's just an opportunity to kind of see what your current logo, what some of those attributes and values might be, it might be communicating. So yeah, if you're interested in that, just go ahead and you can either type in this link here or follow the link in the chat. All right, so with that, we have made it to the question period.
Thank you, Robin.
Yes.
All right. Does anyone have, first of all, welcome to those who popped in during the presentation. Does anyone have questions for Robin? And if so, you can just unmute and ask them, or if you're more comfortable putting them in the chat, I'll be monitoring the chat. Robin, I'm going to ask a question or two. Tell me a little bit about including client reviews. Is it a good idea to do that on your website? Is it, do people just think you've kind of stacked it with only the positive ones? What do you recommend there?
Yeah, that is a good question. So we kind of make a distinction between reviews and testimonials. So reviews are going to be something you manage, whereas testimonials are something you can amplify. So examples of reviews are going to be the things that people can post on any of the review sites out there. And because those sites are so accessible, that is going to be where people who are, kind of looking at maybe hiring you, they are most likely going to reference those reviews. And the best you can do there is, respond to people, especially if it's a negative review, but you want to just kind of stay on top of that and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward on those review sites. As for the testimonials, so those are things where, you are cherry picking to some degree, or just selecting those kinds of experiences that you want to put forward. Those we think are really great for including on your website as amplifiers. So that would be like in kind of showing them next to like other content on the website, kind of sprinkling them maybe on your homepage, or as you saw in some of those project portfolio examples, like adding it to the project page, like so having a review or a testimonial there can be really, really nice. So we do think that they are helpful to have on a website, but having simply maybe a page of just reviews is maybe not the best way to utilize that content. So I don't know, does that answer the question? Yes,
thank you. Yeah. And then Rick has a question.
Okay.
Can you kind of address the difference between larger design, build, and remodeling branding? Like I'm sorry, Rick, forgive me. What research analysis? I'm trying to read it and make sure I'm getting it correct. I think he might want to better understand, is there a difference between what you would do for a larger design build firm and then maybe for a remodeling brand or a replacement sort of company, maybe?
I guess if we're talking about remodeling as being a company that might do smaller jobs.
I'm not sure. Rick, is that what you're thinking about there? Is that the kind of direction your question's going in?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Right. Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, I think that with branding and a logo in particular, the most important thing that you can kind of communicate is that sense of professionalism, and also kind of instilling a sense of trust with your clients, if they are smaller jobs or bigger jobs, or if you're doing design build or not. So I think that's the kind of the baseline, and what a professionally designed logo can help, right? So you'll secure more of any type of job if you're conveying those things. So then, as far as maybe the kind of the way the brand feels, that's probably going to depend a little bit on the type of jobs that you are interested in doing. So if you are doing things that are maybe a little smaller, or maybe it's more of a volume-based business, or a little more, I don't want to say handyman, but just kind of those smaller projects, there's going to be maybe more of a sense of accessibility in the logo. It's going to kind of convey some of those ideas, kind of maybe more of a mass appeal. Whereas design build, since you are positioning yourself as a designer in a sense, you kind of want to have a logo that will reflect that sensibility. So a little bit of maybe a higher end feel when you're offering that type of service. And does that answer the question?
Rick goes on, I'm not sure if it completely answers, so I'll let him answer that. But he also mentions in there, like, I guess, different demographics and regions. Like, is there research for that? Forgive me, Rick, I think I'm slaughtering your questions.
No, they're fine. I was obviously having trouble typing it in.
Do you want to just restate? Did she answer your question, or do you have a follow-up question about the demographics and regions?
In the demographics and regions, in the first seminar, they talked about, like, for your brand, you have a target client. And obviously, if you're a design build or doing larger projects, it's a different client. But they even talked about, like, your demographic was an older couple that had done one project already. That's a different demographic than the 30 or 40-year-old young couple doing a major remodel. And do your analytics, how do you address that, I guess, is the question. And do you address that? And don't those analytics also vary per region?
So what I'm kind of hearing you ask is if we have access to information that can allow us to kind of hone the kind of the image that we're projecting. So what I would say to that is that I wouldn't say that it's so much about analytics, but it more comes down to research and researching the market and kind of the competitive landscape within that market. If you know that your business is primarily targeting an older or younger demographic, then that is going to factor in how we might design the brand, and including the visuals and also the brand voice, all of that. So that definitely plays a role. What we find often is that certainly sometimes it can maybe skew a little one way or the other in terms of age, maybe a little older. But often it comes down to, having the budget to be able to do a project. So we've had people who, maybe they're going to have more clients who are going to be a little older, but they don't want to isolate those clients who are younger. So having a design that is appealing across, a demographic in terms of age is really helpful. And maybe you're just kind of honing in on that sense of quality and style and more of a feeling of luxury or higher end kind of design aesthetic. So that's maybe how we might approach something like that. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I apologize, but I have a 1:30 meeting, so I'm going to have to jump. If you have follow-up questions, please let us know. We will be sending out a recording from today's presentation with contact information for Robin and for Keokee, and then more information too on that analysis. So your brand analysis, and am I explaining that right, Robin?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So if you have any questions, look for that email follow-up tomorrow, and then you can reply back to that and just let us know, and we'll make sure to get your questions answered. Thank you all for joining us. Robin, thank you. You did great. I'm sorry it was sometimes technology likes to mess with us, and I think we all have empathy over that. So you did a great job rebounding and recovering. So thank you.
All right.
Thanks everybody.
All right. Everybody have a great afternoon.